Welcome into the Week 2 recap. Before we do the recap this week, we're actually going to go through the entire PDF recap since this is the first week of the PDF recaps for everyone that is new and anyone that wants a refresher on what this stuff means. We're just going to go through it. So at the top here, you can click to view the league on ESPN. And you can also navigate to every section by just clicking here if you want to see a certain section, but we're just going to scroll down through it. League standings are just as normal as you would see on the ESPN app. It'll give you all of the stuff: win, loss, points for, points against, your win streak or loss streak. Going down the projections and simulations, this runs about 10,000 simulations of the season, and gives the projected rank at the end of the season, the projected amount of wins, and your projected playoff percentage. That's the percent chance to make the top four, the semifinals. Into the season stats, we have more points for, points against. This is the difference. This record versus all column is very important because that is the first tiebreaker. If anyone is tied for a seed or to make the playoffs or anything like that, the first tiebreaker will be record versus all. So that is, if you were to have played every single team every week, you'd play like essentially 9 games per week. How many of those games would you have won and lost? The expected win percentage is just that. How many of those games would you be expected to win? And your luck is how many of those games you actually won, minus the games that you were expected to win. So, like in this example, Nico has 2 wins. His win percentage is 1,000, and his expected win percentage 940. So his luck is 110. And that's you can see schedule. That's based on schedule luck. So Bailey here has no luck at all, positive or negative, because he would have lost every game he played. And he did lose. He is 0-2, so his win percentage is 0. His expected win percentage is 0. There's no luck involved there. And then the luck ratings are visualized in a graph there. These are the season total scores by position. Kind of see what positions are doing better for which teams. The season total coaching efficiency. This is over the entire season. If you started your optimal lineup, this would be 1. If there was no one that got more points than the lineup that you started, if you couldn't possibly make your score higher in a given week, that would be 1. This is that totaled over the entire season. So the best start-sit decisions, essentially. Season total points left on table. This is kind of another luck rating a little bit, but on the left here is how many points you've left on the table. So if you were to have started your optimal lineup, how many points would that have scored compared to the lineup that you did actually start, and how many points that scored? That is the full red bar, and then that same thing, but the teams that you've played against every single week is the full green bar, and then your logo placement on that is the difference between. So the highest green bar means that you're very lucky. Your opponents have made bad start-sit decisions. A high red bar means that you have made bad start-sit decisions based on points, and the difference is how well you're actually cashing in on that luck. So if your green bar is really high, you're getting pretty lucky, but if your red bar is also really high, your logo placement will be towards the middle. You're not really cashing in on the points that your opponent has left on the table. This is a matrix of what your record would be if you were playing against a different team's schedule. This does not include 50-50 weeks. So it's a true way to see what your record would be if the 50-50 weeks were still in place, if you were playing against another team's schedule, and if you played against that team, it would just keep that same game in that week. So if you were playing against Comer Dynasties, if like Lance here was playing against newcomers' schedule, he'd be 1-1. If he played a newcomer in that stretch, it would just count the game as normal. And then these are just for this week. So everything below here is just for the week. We have the stats and scores. So this is just the points scored visualized on who played each other. So as you can see here, Lance and Stu got a loss, even though they scored more than Ryan did because Ryan played myself. That's a good way to visualize the matchups. The scoring differences is you're projected in gray. The orange is the optimal score that you could have gotten if you started every single correct player. And then the blue or green circle is how much you actually scored. It's blue if it's less than the projection. It's green if it's more than the projection. The week 2 scores by position. This is the same as the season-long scores by position. So you can see which teams here had one position go off to help their score. Week 2 coaching efficiency, same thing as the season-long coaching efficiency, just this week. The boom players are the 3 players that outperform their projection the most, 3 starters that outperform their projection the most, and the bust players are the 3 starters that underperformed their projection the most. That is the PDF recap. I try to add one thing every single year to this, so I'm hoping to get that done pretty soon. Looking at something really cool insight to add to here that you can't get on the ESPN app. Like, it's just not possible. Hopefully that ends up working, but when it does, I will explain it in the recap, and it will be awesome. So yeah, let's get into the recap.
As always, we'll start with redraft. Leftist Cheers 2-0 defeats Bills Mafia 0-2, 161.44 to 116.88. Leftist Cheers stayed undefeated with a convincing win over Bills Mafia. Christian McCaffrey once again anchored the lineup, racking up over 100 scrimmage yards and a touchdown to post 19.5 fantasy points. Jordan Love added 22.5 in Green Bay's win over Washington, while James Cook had one of the best games of his career, ripping off 26.7 points against the Jets. Bears wideout Rome Odunze was also a difference maker, catching a touchdown in Chicago and finishing with 28.8 points, giving Leftist Cheers both a safe floor and plenty of upside. On the other side, Bills Mafia couldn't keep pace despite solid outings from Patrick Mahomes, quarterback Caleb Williams, and Jahmyr Gibbs. The rest of the lineup stumbled. Breece Hall and Drake London combined for just 8.4, while Travion Henderson managed only 5.5 in his flex spot. Leftist Cheers moves to 2-0 behind a balanced roster that looks dangerous early, while Bills Mafia falls to 0-2 and will need to find more consistency from its supporting cast to climb out of the basement. No pun intended, 1-1 defeats Scuba Delinquent 1-1, 172.51 to 147.89. No pun intended, even the record with a strong win, led by a monster day from Jonathan Taylor. The Colts back shredded Denver's defense for 29.6 fantasy points, while Malik Neighbors erupted in a primetime loss to Dallas, hauling in big plays on his way to 32.7. Daniel Jones also delivered a fantastic game, putting up 24.8 in a comeback win over the Broncos. Add in 19.4 from Devontae Adams and 18.2 from Jameson Williams, and no pun intended, had more than enough firepower to secure the victory. Scuba Delinquent got big games from Jamar Chase and Baker Mayfield, but couldn't keep pace. No pun intended, climbs to 1-1 behind Taylor and Neighbors' explosive outings, while Scuba Delinquent also sits at 1-1 after falling short in a high-scoring matchup. The Red Carpets 2-0 defeats Washington Rednecks 1-1, 111.84 to 94.46. The red carpet stayed unbeaten with a balanced showing, doing just enough to fend off the Rednecks. Trevor Lawrence paced the lineup with 20.84 points in a narrow loss to Cincinnati, while Devon Achane matched him at exactly 28.84 after breaking through New England's front for a big day. Javonte Williams, delivering a strong 20.6 out of the flex, rounded out the scoring nicely. Josh Allen had a quieter afternoon with 13.2, but the red carpet still held control from start to finish. The Rednecks never found their rhythm. Kyler Murray put up 15.2, while CeeDee Lamb and Keenan Allen were steady, but the rest of the roster couldn't make up the difference. Zach Charbonnet was bottled up and scored a frightening single fantasy point. The red carpets improved to 2-0 and looked like an early contender thanks to reliable quarterback play and emerging young weapons, while the Rednecks dropped to 1-1 and will need their starters to step up to avoid slipping further. Gumpy Glizzy's 2-0 defeat Steel Curtain 0-2, 129.52 to 88.12. Gumpy Glizzy's rolled to 2-0 behind huge outings from their quarterbacks. Jared Goff teed Ben Johnson's head up and channeled his inner Bryson DeChambeau on his way to 35.5 fantasy points against the Bears. Lamar Jackson gashed Cleveland for 27.3 of his own. They gave Gumpy Glizzy's plenty of cushion despite a rare down week from the Broncos' defense at negative 3.9. Steel Curtain, on the other hand, struggled all over the board. Derrick Henry did just about nothing in Baltimore. Hollywood Brown, Evan Ingram, and the Steelers' defense combined for barely more than 10 points. The big one, though, was Joe Burrow, who went down with a turf toe injury and is expected to be sidelined until mid-December. It'll be a tough climb for Steel Curtain, especially without a backup quarterback currently on the roster. The Stoners 1-1 defeats Nico's League 0-2, 137.13 to 98.26. The Stoners rebounded to Week 2 with their stars showing out. Amon St. Brown completely torched Chicago, looking unstoppable as he piled up chunk gains and a score. Quarterback Drake May played beyond his years in Miami, carving the Dolphins secondary to give New England a huge road win. For Nico's League, it was another week of frustration. Bo Nix battled hard in a shootout against Indy, but Justin Fields cratered against Buffalo, sinking the QB room. Bijan Robinson and Josh Jacobs provided solid work on the ground, but the wide receiver group went quiet outside of T. Higgins. The Stoners moved to 1-1 with momentum, while Nico's League drops to 0-2 and is already starting an uphill climb. Our Week 3 redraft power rankings, as always, starting at the bottom. At number 10, not moving, Bills Mafia. At number 9, moving down one spot, Steel Curtain. At number 8, moving up one spot, Scuba's Delinquent. At number 7, staying put, Washington Rednecks. At number 6, not moving, no pun intended. At number 5, not moving, the Stoners. At number 4, moving down one spot, Nico's League. At number 3, moving up one spot, Gumpy Glizzies. At number 2, staying put, Leftist Cheers. And at number 1, remaining in that spot, the Red Carpets. Our Week 3 redraft game of the week is the Red Carpets 2-0 versus, no pun intended, 1-1. Many storylines going into this one. Can the Colts keep up the momentum and lead, no pun intended, to another win? Or will first overall pick Josh Allen return to his normal self and keep the Red Carpets from dropping their first game of the season? This Week 3 matchup will give us the answers. Moving into Dynasty. Caesar Raccoon 74 1-1 defeats Touchdown My Pants 0-2, 169.54 to 98.24. Caesar Raccoon 74 welcomes Touchdown My Pants to the league with a beating. Patrick Mahomes puts up 23.78 fantasy points in a loss to Philadelphia. Monter St. Brown was the star of the show, going off for 35.02 in the Lions' home opener, and Puka Nacua fouled with 22.44. On the flip side, Touchdown My Pants couldn't get much going. It looked very promising after Thursday Night Football, where Love and Kraft combined for 44.18, but Justin Fields and the rest of the squad weren't consistent enough to keep pace, and that 44.18 ended up being 45% of Touchdown My Pants' final score. Stratton Inc. 2-0 defeats Bales on Your Chin 0-2, 123.02 to 87.52. Stratton Oakmont Inc. leaned on steady production across the lineup to notch their second straight win. Jamar Chase finally looked like his usual self despite the loss of his starting quarterback. Chuba Hubbard chipped in with a solid outing against Arizona, and Christian McCaffrey did what he always does, piling up yardage to keep the floor high. Even with Jalen Hurts turning in a quieter stat line in Kansas City, Stratton Oakmont Inc. had more than enough to cruise. For newly acquainted Bales on Your Chin, the struggles continued. C.J. Stroud was efficient but unspectacular. Devontae Adams fought through coverage for his best day of the season, and James Conner added some juice, but that was about it. Tyrone Tracy Jr. and Cortland Sutton were bottled up, while Brenton Strange and Michael Penix Jr. barely made a dent. With Deebo Samuel also failing to break free, the scoring drought left them buried early. Stratton Nick moves to 2-0, while Bales on Your Chin sinks to 0-2, searching for consistency and firepower. Nico's Dream Team 2-0 defeats I Am They 0-2, 133.66 to 117.18. Nico's Dream Team leaned on their stars to grind out a second straight win. Jonathan Taylor erupted, slicing Denver's defense and carrying the load in the backfield. Lamar Jackson played one of his sharpest games in recent memory, carving Cleveland for both yards and touchdowns to set the tone early. CeeDee Lamb also came alive against the Giants in what was a very strong NFL Game of the Year contender. I Am They actually hung on, though, thanks to Bo Nix, who looked comfortable in a shootout with Indianapolis, but Tony Pollard never broke free against the Rams, and the receiving core was uneven, leading I Am They to a tough 0-2 start to the year. Cumber Dynasty 2-0 defeats the Scoop Empire 1-1, 129.52 to 114.34. Reigning champions Cumber Dynasty kept rolling thanks to a breakout performance from Malik Neighbors, who went nuclear in an outstanding game at Jerry World. Javonte Williams was another bright spot under the same stadium dome, while Bijan Robinson added his usual blend of rushing and receiving production to keep the floor high. Joe Burrow's turf toe injury led Cumber Dynasty without their QB anchor, but Josh Allen and Justin Jefferson did enough to steady the ship and keep them unbeaten. The Scoop Empire had flashes but couldn't keep pace. Bryce Young turned in his best outing of the season, but their supporting cast struggled to match the firepower. Saquon Barkley fought for tough yards in Kansas City but never broke the big one. Keon Coleman disappeared against the Jets, and Marvin Harrison Jr. was quiet in Carolina. First overall rookie draft pick Ashton Jeanty heavily disappointed in the 10 p.m. Monday night slot, moving the Scoop Empire down to 1-1 on the young season. Gump Dynasty 2-0 defeats Prestige Worldwide 0-2, 105.76 to 102.26. This one was as close as it gets and came down to Monday Night Football clash between the Chargers and the Raiders. Gump Dynasty needed Justin Herbert to do enough, and he delivered, managing the game efficiently and closing out the win with 19.9 fantasy points. It was a bit dicey after fumbling the ball late, but Gump had enough of a lead to squeak out the victory. For Prestige Worldwide, James Cook lit up the Jets for his biggest fantasy performance yet. Tyreek Hill added explosive plays, but the supporting cast came up short. Zach Charbonnet got a single point, Jordan Mason barely saw any touches, and J.J. McCarthy struggled against Atlanta, with news that he is now out for a few weeks, citing a high ankle sprain. Our Week 3 Dynasty Power Rankings, starting from the bottom. At number 10, Not Moving, Touchdown My Pants. At number 9, Not Moving, Bales on Your Chin. At number 8, Not Moving, Prestige Worldwide. At number 7, moving down one spot, I Am They. At number 6, moving up one spot, the Scoop Empire. At number 5, staying put, Nico's Dream Team. At number 4, not moving, Sneezy Raccoon 74. At number 3, not moving, Stratton Oakmont Inc. At number 2, staying put, Gump Dynasty. And remaining in the number 1 spot is Cumber Dynasty. Our Week 3 Dynasty Game of the Week is Sneezy Raccoon 74 1-1 versus Gump Dynasty 2-0. Lots of primetime national games in this matchup, including the two-headed monster of Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown of Sneezy Raccoon 74. We'll see if Gump Dynasty has the answer to stay undefeated. All right, that'll do it for the Week 2 recap. Thanks all for listening, and we will see you in Week 3.